கடந்த ஆகஸ்ட் மாதம் 30ஆம் தேதி சர்வதேச காணாமல் ஆக்கப்பட்டோர் தினம் அனுஷ்டிக்கப்பட்டது. புலம்பெயர்ந்து வாழ்கிற தமிழ் சமூகம் அடுத்த சந்ததியினர் கூட இந்த நாளை அனுஷ்டிக்கின்ற நிகழ்வுகள் லண்டனிலும் ஆஸ்திரேலியாவிலும் இடம்பெற்றன. அவற்றின் ஒரு சிறிய தொகுப்பை உங்களோடு பகிர்ந்து கொள்கிறேன். ஆஸ்திரேலியாவில் பசுமை கட்சியின் செனட்டர் டேவிட் ஷூப்ரிட்ஜ் அவர்களினால் ஒழுங்கு செய்யப்பட்ட இந்த நிகழ்வு சிட்னியில் மார்டின் பிளேஸ் என்னும் இடத்தில் ஈரான், பாகிஸ்தான், பங்களாதேஷ், இந்திய சீக்கிய சமூகத்தினர், ஈழத் தமிழர்கள் அனைவரையும் ஒன்று கூட்டி இடம்பெற்றது. இந்த நிகழ்வில் தங்கள் காணாமலாக்கப்பட்ட உறவுகள், அரசியல் தலைவர்கள், ஊடகவியலாளர்கள் போன்றவர்கள் பற்றிய கருத்துக்களை ஒவ்வொரு சமூகத்தை சார்ந்தவர்களும் உரைகள் மூலம் நினைவு கூர்ந்தார்கள்.
Grief and sorrow from all communities, from Tamil, from Bangladesh communities, Iranian brothers and sisters, and now we Pakistanis. We are struggling, and the story is the same.
Let me come to forced disappearance. It is a heinous crime.
The crime is the same, the application of the crime is the same, and the cover-up of the crime is the same.
I wanted to start off by reading to you a paragraph from the UN fact sheet on enforced disappearances, which describes the reality of enforced disappearances.
Today, different communities here to solidarity with Senator David Shawbridge to put the motion in Australian Federal Parliament to use the Magnitsky Act to sanction against them those who are involved with serious human rights crime all over the world.
இந்த நிகழ்வில் ஈழத் தமிழர்களுக்காக தனது சிறு வயதில் இருந்து குரல் கொடுத்து வரும் தற்பொழுதைய சட்டக்கல்லூரி மாணவியான ரேணுகா இன்பகுமார் அவர்கள் ஆங்கிலத்தில் காணாமலாக்கப்பட்ட ஈழத்தமிழ் உறவுகளின் நினைவுகளை பகிர்ந்து கொண்டார்.
Today is International Enforced Disappearance Day, a day that us Elam Tamils mark as a grave day of remembrance. The linkage of remembrance of Elam Tamils who crossed the Vatuvakal Bridge and was stopped by 4 to 5 checkpoints. 4 to 5 checkpoints, Sri Lankan officials and soldiers stood, watching, smirking as our innocent people crossed the bridge over our dead, dismembered people who were continuously shelled by the Sri Lankan state's genocidal actions. After the checkpoints, our people were divided into lines. Our LTT cadres, civilians and injured. Everyone was told that they will be investigated and released. This was a Sri Lankan military statement before our people boarded the buses. This was a Sri Lankan military that to this day the Australian government work alongside with. Our people were driven away in the Sri Lankan military buses and never returned to this day. 14 years and we do not know what happened to our people. On May 10th, 2009, Catholic priest Father Francis Joseph wrote to the Pope from inside the no-fire zone, calling on the church to break its silence on the massacre of Elam Tamils. Father Francis Joseph disappeared after surrendering to the Sri Lankan army alongside hundreds of LTT cadres and high-ranking LTT officials in May 2009. The letter he wrote to the Pope to this day has not received a reply. 3 pages to the Vatican pleading for help and expressing a sense of abandonment. No reply and still no justice. Shame! More than 150 Elam Tamil fathers and mothers have passed away without the knowledge of where their loved ones have gone. They have passed away with the last action asking the Sri Lankan state and the international community for their loved ones. The bus drivers who took these innocent people before being disappeared know where they went. The infamous Gotabaya Rajapaksa, former General Sarath Fonseca in 2009, General Shavendra Silva, former Commander Kamal Gunaratne and the Sri Lankan state are complicit in 2009 were all responsible responsible for these disappearances. It should also be noted that 2009 was not just the year of Elam Tamils disappearing, but also prior to 2009, there were white van abductions. And even after 2009, as quoted by Amnesty International, Sri Lanka holds one of the most highest enforced disappearances. Elam Tamils are also the highest group of having the highest rejection rate in the immigration system in Australia. The Australian government have held a notorious record to work alongside the Sri Lankan government even in 2009. There have been representatives from Australia who have gone to Sri Lanka to train the military and also teach at General Sir John Kokatawala Defence University, which is a university known to educate those to hate Elam Tamils and carry the tradition of committing genocidal crimes in Tamil Elam. Next year, it will be the 15th anniversary of the peak of the genocide in Tamil Elam and the 70 years of ongoing genocide committed by the Sri Lankan state. Will we have to face another year of silence, another year of the Australian government being complicit and believing we as Elam Tamils are safe in Sri Lanka? I have met the mothers who have been rallying almost every day since 2009 of the disappeared when I attended the United Nations. Being a part of the Elam Tamil youth community, we will continue to ensure our heroes, our innocent civilians, innocent disappeared loved ones will receive justice. Justice of gaining our lands back Tamil Elam and also ensuring the Sri Lankan state, international states and organizations who are silent are held accountable of the ongoing genocide in Tamil Elam. I will end this speech with our Tamil Elam leader's quote, "Of no force can destroy the determination of national society which is bent on liberation." So I promise to those in Tamil Elam and the Elam Tamils and the Elam Tamils around the diaspora that we will find our loved ones. We will be determined and we will not give up no matter how many forces try to silence us, but rather use it for our strength to always strike forward. Nandri, thank you.
லண்டனில் ட்ரஃபல்கர் ஸ்கொயரில் ஒன்று கூடிய ஈழத்தமிழ் இளம் சந்ததியினர் இந்த நிகழ்வில் கலந்து கொண்டு ஆங்கிலத்தில் தமது வெளிப்பாடுகளை இவ்வாறு வெளிப்படுத்தியிருந்தனர்.
Vanakkam and good evening to everyone who's come today to remember the fellow Tamils who we lost to the enforced disappearances that were carried out by the atrocious Sri Lankan government during the last stages of the war. In this moment, I would like to give my respects to the many martyrs, the great soldiers who gave their lives to protect the Tamil people and in return for the one solution of Tamil Elam. I am 16 years old now and I left my war-torn homeland. I fled my war-torn homeland by a hair's breadth. Hence, it is my duty to speak up and ask for justice for the fellow Tamils who I lost along the way. There were many children and teenagers who were subject to enforced disappearances and killed by the Sri Lankan government forces, and hence it is my duty to speak up and ask for justice. The Sri Lankan government is clearly denying the crimes that they committed during the war, and it is in the United Nations hands to ask them to reply, to give an answer to the people to where their fellow relatives are. During the last stages of the war, many Tamil parents, many family members told their family members to go and give answers when they were to be interrogated by the Sri Lankan government forces. And when they left, they were never seen to be returned. Recently, mass burials have been found, especially in Kokutoravai, most recently. And over the last 30 years, 32 mass burials have been found. To name a few, Jaffna, Mullaitivu, Mannar, and many more. And Kokutoravai especially is where there was Sri Lankan army camp for over 20 years. And just under the army camp, there's been a mass burial found. Kokutoravai was a center of interrogation where Tamil parents would leave their children to be interrogated in return for certain safety. However, these children have not been seen yet. Many government officials have also given statements that the bodies of those who were enforcedly disappeared were fed to crocodiles or either buried. I would like to move on to one mistake that the world has made when talking about what happened in Sri Lanka. What happened was not war between the Sri Lankan government and the Tamil Tigers. What happened was discriminatory violence. It began with discriminatory violence and it ended with discriminatory genocide. So the Tamil Tigers were just a wall that prevented the disappearance of an entire people, the disappearance of a nation, the disappearance of our identity. So stop looking for evidence that does not exist against the Tamil Tigers for crimes that you allegedly say that they carried out, which we know that they didn't. And use the evidence that you have, the strong evidence that you have against the Sri Lankan government for the crimes that you know that they did commit. Criminals do not deserve leisures. Do not give them any more time. If they are reluctant, if they say that they do not want an international investigation, if they say they do not want international judges to be the judge of their crimes, do not give them that. We do not give criminals leisures. Do not give them time. UN, why are you silent? Why do you hesitate? Give them the punishment that they deserve. It will be the same now and then. They still deserve the same punishment. So give it to them. Do not hesitate. Give them the international investigation. Give us the international investigation we need. They still haven't given a local inquiry, which they promised they will give. So it is clear who the culprits are. If there are mass burials between every army camp that has been in Sri Lanka, then is it not clear who the criminals are? Were there mass burials found beneath the LTTE bases? No. Finally, I would like to first of all again thank everyone who's been coming here for the past 14 years. This is 14 years that the world closed its eyes on the atrocities that has happened in Sri Lanka. It is 14 years since the UN turned their backs and fled, turned their backs on their duties. It is 14 years that a freedom fight has become a fight, a struggle for justice. And in these last 14 years, not a single person who has been subject to enforced disappearance has been found or has been given a trace of where they have been gone. And in these last 14 years, not a single Sri Lankan government official who has been part of the atrocities carried out has been asked or given or prosecuted for the crimes that they have committed. So, for the last 14 years, I thank everyone who has come. But I will say again, we will come, even if it means another 14 years, to these very streets to ask for the justice we not only deserve, but the justice that should be given. And by humanitarian organizations like the UN, especially the UN. So thank you very much for everyone. நன்றி வணக்கம்.
உலகெல்லாம் பறந்து வாழும் ஈழத்தமிழ் மக்கள் அடுத்த சந்ததியினரும் எமது கடந்த கால நிகழ்வுகளை எடுத்துச் செல்பவர்களாகவும் அதற்கான நீதி கோருகின்ற போராட்டங்களில் தொடர்ந்தும் ஈடுபட்டு வருவது நம்பிக்கை தரும் ஓர் விடயமாக உள்ளது என்பதை கூறி மீண்டும் ஓர் செய்திப் பொறியில் சந்திக்கும் வரை வணக்கம்.